Hello, everyone. Welcome to LearnTech Asia's webinar series. My name is Charlie Darapak. I'm the editor-in-chief of LearnTech Asia. Thanks for taking time from your schedules to be here today. I hope everyone is keeping safe. If you haven't been doing so already, please visit our newly relaunched Stories and Resources website at learntechasia.com, where we are telling stories of innovation and learning by all communities in Asia. And do sign up for our newsletter on learntechasia.com to get the latest stories and webinar announcements on learning innovation in Asia. LearnTech Asia is excited to present the second in a series of webinars to host conversations with teachers, experts, and industry leaders in EdTech and the future of learning, upskilling, and reskilling. Today's session of Learn with Expert is rapid upskilling and reskilling in the new normal with technology, AR, and VR. The use of augmented reality and virtual reality is increasing in our daily lives, from playing games such as Pokémon Go, to surgical procedures in healthcare, to planning landscape and construction projects. With the current disruption by the pandemic and Industry 4.0 at our doorstep, how can VR and AR be deployed to train, upskill, and reskill the workforce? Today, we have an expert in AR and VR, Assistant Professor Bruce Lee, from the School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure, and Society at Heriot-Watt University in Malaysia. He's also a civil engineer and human resources development trainer. He'll be sharing with us some insights into the digital transformation happening in learning and reskilling with VR, AR, and XR. A reminder to those of you who are watching, please submit your questions in the comments section and we will get them to the stage. Let's go right now to Bruce Lee. Bruce?
Hi, good day everyone. I'm Bruce Lee, Assistant Professor of Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia. So today, I'm going to share about rapid upskilling and reskilling in the new normal with technology. So this is the Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia campus located at Putrajaya. Heriot-Watt University is a Scottish university that was established in the first industrial revolution, 1821. And now we are at the fourth industrial revolution. Some self-introduction. I'm a technology enthusiast, researcher, and also educator that focus on technology and also digital applications. So some of my research direction includes building information modeling, virtual reality, augmented reality, and also 3D printing. So prior to becoming an academic, I actually also worked as a civil engineer and also a project manager for a technology-driven training equipment company that focused on rapid upskilling and reskilling. So one of the very good examples is how Imperial College Healthcare utilized AR HoloLens to facilitate virtual ward rounds. Okay, so instead of having healthcare professionals and housemen to tour the hospital wards in a group, okay, which can be extremely dangerous during the spread of a highly infectious pandemic. So live feed are sent to the learners, okay, so that they can see what the doctors are saying and how the doctors interact with the patients. So this innovation approach is also less stressful and welcomed by the patients. The recorded sessions are also very valuable to archive rare case studies. Actually, training with AR and VR is not something new. For examples, the University of Birmingham Human Interface Technology, HIT, has been developing immersive training for the UK Armed Forces Medical Emergency Response Team. simulating the environment within a flying helicopter. So other than that, BMW's OEM's Production Academy has been using ARVR to train for engineering skills. Okay, so this approach has empowered the trainer. Instead of training one-to-one, okay, at one time, the trainers can now train 3 learners simultaneously. So this actually increased in terms of the training efficiency and also achieving the same learning outcome. Such tech-driven trainings are not just limited to medical or engineering professionals. For example, a company called Virtual Speech has been delivering business and corporate soft skill courses by using online plus VR. Okay, so you can also train soft skills using AR and VR, and basically that is actually quite effective in the sense that everyone will have a consistent learning experience. So these are some of the examples where AR and VR are being used in trainings. But for today's sharing, we would also like to discuss about why, okay, why we should embrace technology for rapid upskilling and reskilling. Okay, so if you refer to the feedback cycle wave by Thomson Phillips 2013, so basically we are living in a time where everything is actually faster. So how we actually interpret the diagram is that, so for wave 1, imagine that we are communicating using letters. Okay, so within a week, okay, you can send out a letter, and after the person receives your letter, he or she replied immediately, and you can see that you have one feedback cycle during the 1 week. Okay, as we move to wave 2, digital decisions, okay, and now letters are being replaced by emails. So easily we can have a few feedback cycles during the same duration of a week. When we go to wave 3, predictive digital, so just like some of the social media, we have some pre-suggested response which we can just click. We don't have to type the response ourselves, but we can just choose what kind of response that we want to give. So you can see that the number of feedbacks also increases. When we are in wave 4, where artificial intelligence are in dominance, the feedback cycle is shorter and shorter and almost real time. So what do all this mean? This means that we are living in a fast forward future. Okay, so I'm from the construction industry background as an civil engineer. So based on the Built Environment 2050, a report on our digital future, so there are some game-changing technology-driven process, okay, building information modeling, and that is going to drastically transform the construction industry. So such transformation doesn't come as a one-time event. Okay, so you can look at the diagram, comes when level 2, level 3, level 4, and perhaps at some point of time it reached the Moore's law's end. So it comes in waves. That also means that the training or the upskilling, reskilling process should be done continuously. Okay, so this is a very urgent situation, okay, because, well, the prediction is that whenever there is a digital transformation, there is a very high reduction, okay, for the skilled labor. Okay, so that actually echoes with, well, the statement from the World Economic Forum annual meetings, where it predicts that hundreds of millions of workers need reskilling. Okay, so yeah, how do we actually do it? Okay, so coming back to the higher education scenario, we have fresh graduates, and for now, it is a very harsh market for the fresh graduates. Okay, so let's look at what they actually develop during their university days. Okay, so first of all, they acquire knowledge. On top of that, they acquire skills. Next, okay, they acquire abilities. By combining a few skills, they develop abilities to carry out a certain task or as a certain professionals. But now we are living in such a challenging world, okay? Fresh graduates are expected to contribute directly, okay, to the company. Okay, so it is a very sort of like challenging working environment now. So the fresh graduates do not have the leisure, okay, to have like 6 months or up to 1 year of learning stage, okay, because that's not good enough to help the company to survive. So that means should the graduates have experience? Okay, so how do actually fresh graduates have experience? Okay, so that's a quote by the real Bruce Lee. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Okay, based on the Kurt's experiential learning cycle. Okay, so whenever we do something, there is a reflections, and then we have conceptualizations, experimentations, and finally we gain concrete experience. So, okay, I now actually introduce an innovative pedagogical approach, okay, which is termed as experience synchronization. Okay, which is defined as an innovative pedagogical approach that identifies, analyzes, deconstructs critical experience to design, construct, and synchronize meaningful experience to the learners. Okay, so okay, if you all are movie lovers, okay, I just want to take as an examples. Okay, so in the movie Star Wars: Attack of the Clones, okay, Jango Fett is actually being used as the generic template for the army of the clones. Okay, so basically you identify a very good examples, okay, for you to clone, okay, more of the similar professionals or workers. Okay, so now I sound like a bit sort of like crazy, okay, but the idea is pretty simple, okay, finding the right template. So take example, let's say we go to the industry and we look for a competent engineer that is with 2 years experience, okay, or we look for the junior executive that has 1 year experience, okay, that can perform very well in his roles, as a template, okay, so that we can actually try to synchronize the critical experience to the fresh graduates. Okay, so basically the idea is that the fresh graduates, they graduated, they have the experience, okay, by virtual training, okay, different types of virtual trainings that makes them fit into the working environment. So what makes the virtual experience synchronization effective and efficient? I'm referring to the movie The Matrix 1999. Okay. Just like any other training program, we have to convey and communicate our learning objectives and outcomes clearly. Okay. We have to customize the virtual environment to reduce distraction. Okay, as you can see, the people in the Matrix, they are actually dressing just black and white, okay, to reduce distraction. So at the same time, the hero of the movie, Neo, he's actually walking against the crowd, okay, during the training program. This is actually to contextualize his presence, role, and situation as a rebellion in the movie. Okay, we should do that in our virtual training program. Also, we have to create convincible details. We should contrast and emphasize the subject matter. We can also calculate the participants' expected reaction. Okay, so we can actually take that into consideration so that we can further coach the learners on what to focus. And as a wrap, we have to conclude the virtual training with meaningful outcomes. Okay, so these are some of the points, okay, for you to create a good immersive training environment. Okay, so now let's watch a video where my students, okay, they are using VR to learn about some of the subject matter in the built environment. Enjoy.
然后你就推它是走，就推前后这样撇出来，推，然后看到你可以走整个，你抬头，左右走。And you see up there there's the information. What? But that's soft things. Soft things. This one you have to do a trick, event trick though, but this one is more at one stage of it. So it's the. I'm curious now. So menu, right? Yeah. You can change it to daytime, nighttime. You can do measurement. You can change the equipment. You can request the equipment. You can choose any equipment. Just scroll by. You can just scroll down. And then to the door. And then go faster. How do I go faster? Oh, if you want to go faster, actually you have to use the keyboard. Oh, I see. Yeah. Because the joystick, they don't have the shift function. Oh, okay. So you can go inside. Do I need to press anything? You press the black one to open it. This one.
So with that, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Charlie, you should unmute.
Apologies. Okay, let me start again. Thanks so much for your presentation. Let's continue this conversation a bit further. As stated in your presentation, we're now living in a fast-forward future. Upskilling and reskilling are important to survive the waves of transformation that's going on right now. Knowing that, people may feel a bit of uncertainty, or to a certain extent, they may even be stressed with the idea of change. What's your take on this?
Okay, so if you look at some of the diagram that I showed, well, digital transformation, they come in waves. Okay, they come in waves, and in fact, in 1970, there's a book called Future Shock. Okay, Future Shock by Alvin Toffler. Basically, the book illustrates how the time is actually moving faster and faster due to technological advancement. Right. Okay, so just like we are going to surfing, okay, if we actually wait the wave, okay, we do nothing, we do business as usual, we know that something is actually changing, okay, the wave of change is coming, and we do nothing, okay. So that's a guarantee that we will feel shocked, okay, when the changes happen. Okay, so to avoid shock, okay, just using the metaphor of a surfer. So what the surfer does? They will actually go to the waves. They anticipate the waves, okay, and then they just perhaps take the advantage of the waves. And instead of viewing it as a challenge, as a threat, in fact, every time there is a digital transformation, it is a very good opportunity for us to actually upskill and actually to thrive better, okay, instead of being just resilient, surviving. In fact, every time there is a wave of change, there is a great opportunity for us to thrive and to achieve more.
Right, yeah. Right. So coming back to what you presented today, how can AR and VR make people more comfortable with embracing change?
Okay, so you can see that the waves of change basically is technology driven. So technology is the main driver. So my take is that it is actually very hard for you to catch up, okay, without using a new tools. Okay, so basically the core idea is we have to embrace technology to adopt technological changes. Okay, so you can see that there's a new technology. It can be anything. Okay, so what happened is that the normal or the traditional way of training is insufficient. Okay, perhaps for the university, chalk and talk is not so efficient anymore, because the traditional education, it builds from understanding, okay, then later you know how to analyze. So yeah, we know all the Bloom taxonomy layers of things. So if we have time, that is definitely a very good approach, okay. But what if, let's say, we are living at a fast forward future, the changes comes unexpectedly and rapidly, okay. So just like the globe experienced a massive future shock just because of invisible pandemic. So you can see that when something happened, or maybe is termed as origin from a certain region, Okay, people will just lay back. Okay, so that's just happening in region A. We are like so far away, but you can see that, okay, the challenges or the situation quickly escalated within like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So if you go through the traditional process, okay, and then you train the new generation of doctors, the new generations of medical professionals, is too late. Okay, what I can say that is too late. So I would again take the very good examples of how Imperial College, they respond quickly, okay, by fine-tuning the what round process. So instead of you have like 20 to 30 medical professionals, all of them they going to what round. So well, you can imagine that is basically a recipe for a great disaster, right? In the current pandemic situation. So they use AR HoloLens. So it will actually gives a live feed back to, at one point, okay, 350 medical students. Okay, so you have someone at the front line, perhaps interacting with the patients. Okay, so the doctors, they are not like ideal. Okay, so now I can't go do the traditional what's wrong anymore. They can actually benefit from the live feed. Okay, so how the doctor is actually asking questions, how do they actually interact with the patients, they can view it from the first point of view. Okay, and you can see that such application is not a one-way process. Okay, if let's say you have a junior doctors, okay, so you have a junior doctors at the front line, he or she can also benefit from the augmented reality applications. Okay, so someone actually is more senior, they can give well, direction through such device.
Like feedback in real time? Or?
Yes, you are right. So that relates back to the feedback cycle. You have a sort of like a almost real time. So that also makes, take example, let's say the value of expert is actually expanded. So take example, let's say, if let's say you have a medical expert, again, I use medical expert, can be an engineering expert. So his or her experience benefit when he is carrying out the specific task. Okay, but now when you have junior doctors or junior engineers deployed on the ground, okay, the expert can actually support multiple professionals. You see, the value of the experience is actually expanded. Okay, the experience of the expert, he can actually support 3 to 4 doctors or engineers at the same time. Yeah, so that is where you can see why I actually relates the feedback cycle and how AR and VR consolidate the learning experience. So instead of it is a linear process, now it becomes a multiple dimensional experience.
I see. So, okay. So even though we understand the advantages and the benefits of this technology-driven training, many people, especially now with the economic downturn, they see that the cost is very high. The cost for entry is very high. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I understand that it is a challenging time for almost every industry. Okay, but well, put into the context that, well, all the companies that we see just now, for example, let's say like BMW, okay, they are spending the money on AR/VR for training. It's not because they are rich, okay, it's not because they are cash rich, okay, and they just want to find ways to spend it, okay, but they understand the value, okay, of technology enhanced training, technology enhanced upskilling. Okay, in fact, okay, why they actually embrace such a technological approach is that they are investing to save costs. So again, if let's say you have an expert and this expert slowly becomes a trainer, And now BMW want to send the trainer to a certain region. Okay, BMW, take example, let's say want to send the expert to Australia. Okay, or he want to send the trainer to perhaps Middle East to carry out a certain training.
And especially now, that's not possible.
Especially now, that's not going to happen. Yes, right. And even at the normal time, factor into the cost of traveling. Factor in the cost of accommodations. Okay, so if let's say you have sort of like a setup, a digital learning hub and whatnot, your expert can actually conduct a virtual training to all around the world, minus the traveling cost, minus the time and whatnot. So you can see that the whole upskilling and reskilling process become leaner. So it depends on how you see things. If you view that, oh, investing in all this is basically expenses, is cost, well, it is. But then again, if you view it as investment, okay, to sort of like to reduce your training costs, you will see a very different picture, okay, very different picture in the sense that, well, if you are the decision maker, try to look it from a business perspective. So you can actually do your own math, okay? If let's say I'm investing in so-and-so equipment, how long will be the break-even point, okay? So it's the same as you are investing in teleconferencing equipment or setup. So take example, let's say every time I need to meet with you, Charlie, in Singapore, I take the time to fly to Singapore and whatnot. But now, if let's say I have a very good teleconferencing system, even, well, the cost is maybe a few $100,000. Let's do the max, okay? We calculate the frequency and also we calculate the time saved and all that. When you really look from this perspective, surprisingly, you will find that most probably the break-even point is very reasonable. It could be like 1 year. Okay, after 1 year, you will actually break even in terms of you can actually compare to the traditional way of doing things. Okay, and now you do it with technology.
And, you know, we've seen also with the pandemic for the past few months, even video conferencing platforms, the point of entry, the cost of entry has almost come down to nothing. So, okay, yes. So let's say you have organizations who have adapted to the mindset they want to embrace using technology for training. But, you know, these things still cost money. What do you have to say for the organizations that really lack the resources to invest in the hardware for upskilling and reskilling? Are there pocketbook friendlier alternatives?
Okay, so well, when technology is being introduced to the market, it is actually quite reasonable that the unit cost is actually very high. Take example, let's say unmanned car. Okay, take example, let's say the unmanned vehicles that you have at Garden by the Bay. Okay, so, well, it looks like a very simple unmanned vehicles with driverless, but even at the introduction, in the early phase, it will actually cost like maybe $500,000. Okay, so basically that's a very common curve for new technology. Okay, but now you can see that as you mentioned, like teleconferencing equipments, the cost is actually going down. Okay, first of all, the cost is going down, and well, recently Facebook basically will launch Oculus Quest 2 soon. Okay, so there are many things happening. Okay, many things happening, and well, rumors that the price will actually goes down with the same quality. Okay, but the price goes down because you have the economic of scale. Okay, it's just like a TV. Okay, so when many people, they are actually purchasing television, the price of television goes down. The same goes for VR. Basically, VR and all these HoloLens too and whatnot, they are, for me, I don't see there's actually big difference as compared to a TV. So when the price goes down, then maybe it will become more affordable. Okay, but for the time being, if let's say you just want to explore why people are actually moving towards VR as a new and emerging mass medium, one of the things is that we can actually try out is we can use our own very personal smart device. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick one using examples from YouTube. Okay, do you know that YouTube has VR 180? So instead of VR 360, they actually sort of like record the video or the experience 180. Okay, so I'm going to show one training, VR training for scaffolding safety. Okay.
Do you have a link that you can? Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to show it. Okay, and in this video, there is a small glass. Okay, I'm showing again. Okay, so there's an icon, this icon. So click on it. Okay, so click on the icon. Okay, so it's going to be something like this. The video is not it's not running yet. Okay, but what you have is that, okay, you have a virtual environment. Okay, so when it starts, okay, you can actually put it into a VR headset. Okay, so this is one that I get as a free gift from Xiaomi. So if you go to any online platform, you can actually find this. So for you to see it, is kind of like hard for me to show it here. It's not started yet. But after you play the VR 180 videos, you insert into the VR headset like this. Okay, you just put it on top of it. Okay, you put it inside. And you can actually experience the scaffolding training yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So if you want to have a look at the experience, it's going to be at the chat. Okay, I shared the chat.
So that's
I shared the link in the chat.
That's an example of asynchronous learning. It's VR that is pre-recorded. It's a module that the learner can interact with on their own time. So it doesn't have the live feedback that we were talking about.
Yes, asynchronous. Yes. So you can also do it asynchronous, self-spaced, and also the difference. Okay, once you experience it, if let's say we use scaffolding safety as a subject matter. So usually safety subject, they are very theoretical, okay, very theoretical, and then you know that, oh, this will happen, okay. But when you actually experience it in a VR environment, you sort of like feel the fall yourself, okay. So it's an immersive learning, okay. You of course it's not as realistic as you yourself jumping, okay. just a joke, okay. But the sort of like the understanding is actually different, okay. You can also see that, okay, when my students, she experienced a fire in virtual reality.
Right.
Can you look at her responses? Okay, even though there's no heat and whatnot, but the sudden appearance of a fire in virtual reality, so that means the learning is immersive. And we know that emotion is a very important part for us to learn. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about companies who may have been resistant to change, companies who are embracing change with technology. How about the individual learners? How about people's resistance to change? You know, there are people who are still fond of the traditional training method, you know, instructional-led teaching. Those people might be reluctant to embracing these new platforms of learning. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, habits actually takes time to form. Okay, in fact, yes, there's theory that if you repeat something for like 21 days, then well, you're getting better at it. So my take is that well, in the current situation where changes is the norm, okay, changes is the norm, we have to have a open mindset, okay, to try different things, okay. From there on, it's not like a sure work solution, okay, but we have to find out what actually works well, and from there we improvise. Okay, so you can actually see that that is actually happening. Take example, let's say what we are doing now. We are having a webinar. So there are many traditional conference event organizer. Okay, they have such a drastic learning curve during the circuit breaker to transform them into a virtual conference organizer. Right. Yeah, so when things happen, we have to just adopt and adapt. I guess that's what humans are good at, and yeah, that means, well, we are the best examples of the survival of the fittest. Okay, and the survival of the fittest means that we have to change and we have to learn to change. Yeah. So for the resistance to change, I think maybe you should open up yourself whenever you see there's a opportunity. For example, let's say your friend purchase a VR equipment, you try for yourself. For example, let's say there is a booth, okay, showcasing AR and VR application. You just try it for free, and from that point of view, okay, I'm sure that you are the trainer, you are the subject matter expert. Now you understand how AR and VR view.
Right.
Okay. Think in your own subject matter. Think in your own training needs. Think in terms of your training objectives, and right. You yourself, okay, you try to adopt. Perhaps it's just a small step, okay, like I demonstrate just now. We can use something that is more affordable. Later, when you have more experience, then it is justifiable to move on to a higher tier investment.
Right. Yeah. So when you said later on, when you have more experience, you're talking about experience in the medium of VR and AR, right? Not necessarily, because trainers have the knowledge already that they want to pass on. So that actually leads me to a question that I had. So you've said that AR and VR is not only a technology, but is a medium for delivering content. So for businesses, for instructors who are looking to teach, to upskill and reskill the workforce with AR, VR, how difficult would you say it is to adapt existing training content to AR, VR modules?
Okay, so from my observation, the major obstacle is that the subject matter trainer, they don't really understand, or he or she never experienced it before. So they don't understand it. AR, VR is just a medium, okay? When you think that AR, VR is a technology, then, oh, there's something fancy. There is a psychological barrier, okay? But if you think that it's just a medium, imagine that VR is just a television, and you as a trainer focus on what you want to put on the medium. Yeah, so the major obstacle is that the subject matter trainer, they should change their mindset to view AR, VR as a training medium. Okay, and the other side of the coin is that the technologies actually don't understand what is your training needs, what is your objective, and also subject matter. Because there are so many fields, okay, it can be a well, textile industry, can be oil and gas, okay, can be e-commerce. The technologies themselves, they have the technology, but they don't understand what the training looks like. Okay, so to bridge the gap, okay, the training should understand AR/VR as a medium, and the technologies should actually understand how the trainer utilize or conduct their training. So when this is actually being addressed, okay, this issue is being addressed. Yeah, I guess it's actually not that difficult to adapt existing training to AR/VR modules.
Okay, actually, that leads me to the next thing I wanted to ask you, soft skills. So with the transformation of work and learning happening with Industry 4.0, which is here, you know, there are many hard skills that need to be learned, but how does the teaching and learning of soft skills excel with the use of AR/VR in your opinion?
Okay, this is a very good question. Well, in my presentation, I mentioned about there are business and corporate soft skills VR courses. The other examples is actually learning language. Okay, so learning language, if let's say you follow the traditional approach, is a bit of you need a lot of effort to pick up a foreign language. For example, let's say maybe I want to learn Korean or I want to learn Arabic. Okay, and the major obstacle in learning language is that I don't have the environment. Okay, I don't have the environment. So for me, if let's say I want a realistic environment, the best way is maybe I fly to Korea, which is again not not that fancy for the time being. But what about creating a virtual environment? Okay, creating a virtual environment that fits into your needs. So that means you are not just learning a specific language, but you are learning in the virtual environment that comes with the local culture, okay, the local setting, and all that. So you can imagine that, okay, you have language training in the setting of daily conversation. So you can, once you load yourself into a Korean market, so you can actually speak in a market environment, or you can actually learn in a corporate market. Okay, so the virtual environment will be something that you are using the language for formal communication, for business communication. So this is just some scenarios that you can see how AR and VR enhance, okay, and enrich the whole learning experience. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. We have some questions from the audience. We'll throw a couple of those on screen and we'll answer that next. We'll wait for those to come up on the screen. Okay. For organizations where security is a concern, can you see the question, Bruce?
Yes.
Okay. Such as the military, do you have any suggestions how we can mitigate security concerns so that they can reap the benefits of AR training? So okay, yeah, there have been questions about, you know, security and also the worry about the amount of data from the user that AR and VR can collect. Do you have thoughts on the security concerns with AR VR?
In fact, just like any other technology, just like the internet, okay, just like Wi-Fi, okay, basically augmented reality and virtual reality is first implemented for military usage. Okay, so if you look at the history of augmented reality, and if you have watched a few military movies, okay, Air Force, okay, Air Force fighting movie, and then you see that there is a helmet. There's a helmet where you lock on the bogey or the enemy airplane, and then you have like crosser whatsoever. basically that is augmented reality. Okay, so to answer the question, augmented reality and virtual reality are being used for military and also science expedition. Okay, VR is actually used by NASA, okay, to simulate the landing on the moon. Yeah, so in fact, I would say that there's not much of concern, because by doing asynchronous training, you basically reduce personal connection. Okay, that means you have a trainer. So instead of you have a trainer that trains for all of the process, now you're actually using technology to do asynchronous training. In fact, you have a better process to separate and also to fireproof in terms of the cyber security. That's my answer on it. That means the process works better instead of you have more concern, because from my point of view, the human is the weakest link. Yeah. So if let's say you actually reduce the need for human trainer to go to a specific site, be it like a nuclear site. Okay, the operators, they need to work on some very dangerous weapon and whatnot, but you break down the trainings into asynchronous training. Yeah, so yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one. Can you give more examples of how industries are applying AR/VR in improving their business or in training? Can you think of anything in the last few months that you're aware of where businesses, because of the pandemic, have embraced AR/VR more because of the need to pivot, or because they can't move their teams around because of travel restrictions?
I would actually say that how other industry, because there are so many industry. Okay, I have tried to sort of like reference a few, like the automotive industry, like the medical industry, healthcare, business, corporate. So basically the list is the list is never ending. Okay, to put into context, I guess it's easier that you think of which industry should not embrace AR/VR in training. Yeah, instead of getting more examples, okay, you have to look into which industry basically is actually having a lower needs for such technology enhanced training. Yeah, so for like other AR, because when you have one examples and one scenario, if you see like if this is what they are doing for medical healthcare, there's nothing to stop you from applying in your industry.
Right.
Okay, so take example, let's say you want sort of like a soft skill training. Okay, soft skill training. If let's say you have a very good speaker, very good in public speaking, and he or she provides a live feed to you. Okay, you can see that. Okay, so this is how he speak. Okay, so this is his pace. Okay, and this is how his body language looks like, and this is how the responses from the audience. Okay, and also if you look at it for another example is, I think I didn't put it in the chat link. Okay, there's another VR 180 video for drag racer. Okay, I think if let's say LearnTech can post it at the chat box, so you can see that in the racing sport. Okay, if you have a VR 180 video and then you experience it through VR, not only you can actually experience the technical, so how do you actually maneuver, how do you actually control, okay, but you can also experience the crowd, okay, because for some racer or some individuals, their main problem is not technical, okay. They are very good when they are in a controlled environment, they actually perform very well. But if let's say a drag racer, he has sort of like a phobia for crowd, so basically that is his or her problem. His or her problem is not on the technical part, but when you sit in the drag car, you see like there are many crowd, okay, then he or she starts to panic. So that is the advantage of AR/VR training. It's not just about well, the function and also technical know-how. It is sort of like experiential learning. Okay, so that's why you can also see why the UK Armed Forces, they want to simulate emergency response within a flying helicopter, because it's totally different when you are treating someone in the ward and you are at the flying helicopter. So it will be like very noisy, okay, stuff like that.
Okay, great. All right, we've got a lot of questions. Let's see what else we have here. See, cost. People have concern about costs. They want to embrace the technology. They want to use this mode of learning. Could you offer a ballpark figure, maybe to set up something affordable for an SME?
Okay, so something affordable. So I think it depends on where do you come from. Sometimes not necessarily you need to buy the equipment. So take example, let's say VR 360 video recorder could cost maybe 1,000 Sing dollar and whatnot. But you can actually try to search for service provider. So instead of investing on that particular technology itself, you look for the service provider that can provide such service. For example, let's say you want to capture a VR 360 experience, you don't have to buy it if let's say that's too costly for you, because it's a one-time event and whatnot. So try to plan out your how you actually approach these things. Not necessarily you have to buy everything and just after one time of usage you just put it. I think that's the major concern. Okay, you can't actually break even for what you have invested. So looking at a service provider is good. So set up basic training function. It really depends. Okay, as I mentioned, everyone has different training needs. So it comes down to really sit down, understand what you want to do in AR and VR. And I guess, yeah, that's how you get your figure.
Okay, great. What else do we have? People are looking for resources to learn more about this and to understand VR and AR more in training. Can you suggest some off the top of your head?
Then again, this is a very simple question. You can just ask Google. But my take is that perhaps you can look at some of the massive open online courses, such as sort of like Coursera. Okay, you have like Coursera, you have Future Learn, you have Open Learning. Okay, so all these MOOC platform. Also, you can look into paid courses like from Udemy, okay, from e-learning global, and yeah, these are some of the places where you can actually look for. Yeah, and also don't forget LinkedIn Learning. You can also there are also many certified courses on LinkedIn Learning. Yeah.
Okay, great. We're running out of time. I want to do one last question on yes. Okay, there's a question on in ASEAN, in Asia, we have a lot of regions where connectivity is an issue. So how bandwidth intensive is this? Are there alternatives to high bandwidth intensive AR/VR in learning? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yes, we can actually start well in a less costly approach. Okay, there are basically quite a lot of affordable AR solutions. Okay, if you as compared, we have augmented reality. Usually, augmented reality is actually less costly because you can just use the smart devices and then, like how I showed just now, plug into something that's actually quite cheap. Then you have VR, okay, affordable VR. Then you have higher end of VR. Then you have higher end of augmented reality like HoloLens 2. So my take is that you can try to explore. Okay, it's just a very simple search on the internet and try to use some of the free resources as a start. Yeah.
But if the bandwidth, if the internet speed is not fast enough, is there sort of a minimum limit that it's operable, or are there platforms that you know of that are a bit lower bandwidth intensive, that countries with low internet speeds can start experimenting with this?
Yeah, there are many AR website. If let's say you just want some examples, so you can search for Augment. Augment is a relative app for you to start on AR applications for training. You can also use a app called Sketchfab. Okay, Sketchfab. Yeah, so we have like Augment, you have like Sketchfab. Yeah, so what I can say is that yeah, we have quite a lot, and as time goes, even the originally very high-end VR, the cost is actually going down. Yeah. And for the internet, I would say that yes, to all the governments, okay, well, internet connectivities, they are a need now. Okay, so other than focusing on, well, water supply, electricity, whatsoever, please also take into consideration to provide affordable internet to cover your country.
I absolutely agree. Okay, do you have any final thoughts, Bruce, before we wrap up today on AR and VR for upskilling and reskilling?
Yeah, I think for organizations or trainers that look to start to embrace technology for learning, the main point is that you view it as a training medium, as a mass medium, instead of viewing it as a very fancy technology. So that's my conclusion.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bruce, for your time in presenting with us today. That wraps up our webinar, Learn with Expert, Rapid Upskilling and Reskilling, the New Normal with Technology. Thanks again, Professor Bruce, for sharing your knowledge and insights. We'll be posting a video of this discussion on our Stories and Resources website at learntechasia.com. Once again, do sign up for our newsletter on learntechasia.com to get the latest stories and webinar announcements on learning innovation in Asia. And please be sure to follow us on our social platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram if you aren't already. I'd also like to thank my colleagues, Sa-Feng Ho and Zheng Yo, working behind the scenes to make this happen. My name is Charlie Darapak, the editor-in-chief of LearnTech Asia. I'll see you next time. Thank you.